Hello everyone. Are you ready to do some watercolor painting? Today we're going to do a beginning level banana. But before we paint, I want you to notice what are the main characteristics of your subject matter. In this case, our banana. The banana is not round. It's got plane changes from here to here. The end is blunt. The top, where it got ripped from the bunch, will have its own set of characteristics. There are things that make a banana look like a banana, and those are its characteristics. So let's begin. I'm going to begin with an Aurelian yellow, and I'm going to wet the entire banana. There we go. So far, so good, right? All the way here into the tip, down to the back. And because I don't want it to be just one flat yellow color, there we go, I have put in a little orange. While this is setting up, I've got a clean, damp brush, and I'm going to pull out, there we go, a light source up here on the top of the banana. That looks good. I'm going to put some green while this is wet. I'm going to let that bleed. I'm going to put a little down here at the bottom. So far, so good, right? I'm going to have to add more green, I see. So I'm going to put a darker green down here. It's going to bleed, and that's a good thing. I'm going to get some quinacridone gold, which is a little lighter, a little darker yellow. Lay it in gently. And I've got some brown. I'm going to lay in here. I'm going to lay in here. I'm going to let it bleed out. And I'm going to leave it alone and let it do its watercolor thing. You know, watercolor is great in that it will, from time to time, paint itself if you let it. I'm going to add a little texture here to this banana while it's wet. And now I'm going to leave it alone. Well, I say I'm going to leave it alone. We'll add some up here. I really am going to leave it alone. We'll add a little more of this light source. Now, before I go any further, I'm going to take a minute to go blow dry so I can come back and apply some dry brush to the banana for more texture. So I will be right back. And I am back. That's dry. What I want to do now is dry brush some texture. So I've got some of the burnt sienna, and I'm going to knock it off the brush until I get that dry brush look. And I'm on the side of the brush here. You can hear it go across the paper, and I'm going to dry brush this banana. Ooh, that was a good one, wasn't it? I don't want to cover it in the dry brush, but I do want to emphasize the texture of that. And I will go a little bit further and solidify some of that Some of it's just going to help me emphasize that plane change right there. I don't need it everywhere. Now I'm going to go back into some violet down here because it's the complement of the yellow. Complementary colors working together. I'm going to neutralize some of this down here. I'm going to spread that out. Now see, I'm working from the tip of the brush. The back of the brush is damp, so it's wetting the paper as I go. That's good. Emphasize some in here. And if you get too much of this going, the complements are going to make it, turn it into a neutral. So I want just enough there. It seems I don't have enough green up here, so my green kind of got lost into my yellow there, didn't it? There we go, that's happier. But I'm going to use some of this green here to help define this edge, so I'm going to pull it out. And I don't want the same color down here, remember? So I'm going to add a darker green, whatever your darker green is, down here, a little up here, because it's not the same. It's not the same all the way down. I'm going to use that and here. Now the reason I'm not going back in with the brown is because we don't want this whole thing to be brown. I'm going to stick a little bright. Whoa, that's not right, is it? That's all right. I'm going to pull that out. What I meant to do was add a little brighter yellow up here. There you go. There you go. Now, when you stick the wrong color in here, what does it matter? If there's one thing I want you to remember, it's that we're practicing. I'm going to add a few more marks there. I'm going to have to wait and let that dry. So while I'm working on that, let's get into the shadow shape here. Now, this is going to help define this bottom under here. Now, because this part of the banana is lifted, I'm going to separate this shadow shape here. Remember the characteristics of the stem of the banana there? It's kind of flat. Now this is a cast shadow, and it can be as dark as you want it. It can be as soft edge as you want it. I'm going to make it darker in here. That's where the light is not hitting. Again, I've got the tip of my brush and the pigment. The back of the brush is dampening the paper. All right, we need that curve, don't we? Let me take some of that out. That's going to be better. And it's going to be darker up here because that's going to be the darkest. I'm going to lay in some more quinacridone up here. Yeah. I'm going to come back with the violet. Emphasize that. Come back in here. Might even pull some of that out. It's getting kind of, but yeah, let's pull some of that out. What's the word? We're practicing. Put some more of this in here. Now, if I have good sense, and let me put in here. Let me put in here. Now I'm using the violet. You can use whatever you want. And I want to add a little darker in here. So I'm going to get a touch of crimson. And I'm going to lay it in here. Now the reason is crimson is the complement of that green that's in there. So again, there's not everything brown. I like that. I think I like that. Let's emphasize this a little more. Now what happens if I do this and then I don't like it? I go, oh well. Now to have something light, it needs dark around it. So I'm going to bring in some background. And again, you know why I'm using the violet. I'm going to wet this back so there we go. This banana is going to sit on something, so let's put horizon there. Now I'm not going to make this just flat violet. There's just not much more unattractive than having one big boring shape of one color. So I've put some blue in here. I've also left a little bit of a light in here that's going to give it just a little bit of light source, I think. Now, as I'm looking at that, I'm going to think, it's too much. It's a little fat back there. So the joy of the dark is that I can come in and reshape this a little bit. I'm painting over that light. That's good, that's enough. Now, let's be brave. You know why we're going to be brave? Yeah, you do. We're practicing. I'm making a dark violet. I'm adding some ultramarine to it. And add some contrast to this baby. And I know what I'm going to want to change. I'm going to want to change under here a little. Add that little shadow because I want that edge to show. Now I'm still not happy up here, so that little light I was hoping to put in, I'm going to take out. It's one thing to have a curved banana, it's another thing to have a humpback. Okay, we're going to leave that alone for now. I'll say again. And I'm going to dry brush some more. That doesn't look nearly textured enough. So I'm going to get some more of the brown. Now what I can use too is the violet being the complement. Knock some of that off and see how that emphasizes that. Let's texturize up here. I think that little area missed out on our texturizing, didn't it? But we don't want to do so much of it that it's banana that we would leave on the shelf and never bring home to enjoy. So a little dab will do. You like parts, you don't like parts. See where that bled right there? I'm going to knock this off. I'm going to pick some of that up. There we go. There we go. Now, what happens if you're in here and you can't get that picked up and it bleeds all the way into your banana? Nothing. You're okay. We're practicing. Emphasize that little light a little bit. I like this green down here. I'm going to green this up a little bit, and I'm going to do it with a little darker green because, once again, we've got that plane change right there. I'm not real sure. Something's making me a little crazy up here, and I think that it's not quite yellow enough. But again, remember, I don't want just one flat chunk of yellow on my page. I'm gonna see if I like that better. I think I do. I'm gonna see if I like that better. I think I do. And I think what I'm gonna do, instead of putting more color right in here, I'm going to get my little flat angular brush right here, and I'm going to pull out some color. That done, yeah, we're going to pull that out, let a little light shine in there. A little light back here. Now, what I'm pulling out, if I don't like it, I can put it back in. It's really important not to take this too seriously and to have a good time with it. Later, we'll work on some more complicated subject matter when you learn a little more about technique. Now, I'm going to overwork this baby until I have completely destroyed it. As I say over and over, need to leave it alone. So this is what I'm going to promise you. I'm going to lay in some more of the shadow shape right here. And I'm going to emphasize this a little bit. Emphasize this a little bit. And I'm telling you, when you think you should leave a thing alone, it's a real good idea to leave it alone. I still want this more curved, see? Now this is where I get dangerous. I'm going to pick at this thing and pick at that thing. That's better. That's better. Let me go back in with a little more of this Quin. That's such a hard edge right there. And I'm going to soften that again into the pigment. Not everything has to be a hard edge. Your eye knows. I hear you. Leave it alone, you say. Let's leave it alone. Let's see if we can't use a little bit of self-control. after we add a little more green down here, because I want to soften the contrast down here. I'm telling you, I still don't like this. But if I push it until I completely destroy it, you know what I'm about to say. Just practicing. Just practicing. That's pretty right there. Define that a little more, and I'm going to put some more of these back in. I'm going to put a little in here. That got to be mighty white, didn't it? All right. See right here, I want to tighten that edge up. Draw that out. Leave it alone. All right. Now, what I'm dying to do is get in and pull out some light source right in here, because I'm afraid it's going to look a little overworked, and I'm not. I'm going to leave it alone. Leave it alone. What are the main characteristics? Banana's not brown. We have the plane change. We've got the flat bottom. We've got some unripe area here where it's been pulled from the bunch. In terms of the shadow, that is lifted. So there's a space there, a little space there. We've used the complementary color to pop out the yellow. And there, we're going to leave that banana alone. Yes, we're going to leave it alone. Before it becomes a banana, we can't enjoy it.